Why Jersey deserves smarter analysis, a reality check. Here's the hard truth. Jersey's prosperity doesn't operate on the same playing field as struggling UK regions, and pretending it does leads to dangerously bad policy. Let's dissect why these false comparisons damage public trust and ignore the island's unique economic reality. Picture this. Someone claims Jersey's housing costs parallel Stoke or Swansea, yet our island mirrors London in its financial sector dominance and affluence. Why benchmark against regional averages swayed by deprived areas when our true peer is the UK capital? The numbers simply don't stack up. Groceries offer a striking example. While Londoners pay 30% more for food than residents of Stoke, Jersey faces compounded challenges. Goods and services tax on essentials, the logistical nightmare of sea-based supply chains, and imported perishables that can't be warehoused due to short shelf lives. These aren't optional expenses. They're structural realities. Education statistics suffer similar distortion. When comparing academic performance, including data from underfunded schools in deprived areas, paint a misleadingly rosy picture. We're measuring apples against oranges, glossing over systemic issues like underperforming schools that would face intervention in the UK. Promising London-level wages but Stoke-level prices is economic Santa Claus politics. The solution? Stop throwing public money at rehashing the bleeding obvious. Here's why. Opportunity cost basis. Savings accounts versus fixed deposits aren't rocket science. Sacrificing FS to funds requires compensation. Apply this to housing. Mandating improved rental standards, think heating systems or fire safety, automatically raises costs, just as five-star hotels cost more than budget options. Yet, we blame landlords for predictable rent rise instead of acknowledging better quality demands higher prices. 2. Investment realities. New regulations may boost standards, but make rental property less attractive. Longer tenant application processes, more rules. That's like logging cash in a fixed-term bond. Investors demand better returns. 3. Bigger systemic pressures. AI disrupting job markets, aging populations straining services, and dwindling rental investor interest. These pressures require honest policy responses, not financial gimmicks like raiding social security funds or borrowing against diminishing reserves. But here's where it gets controversial. Is maintaining Jersey's high public sector expenditure sustainable? Our debt projections look more like hedge fund gambles than fiscal responsibility. Ballooning public sector jobs that add little value? We're prioritizing short-term political comfort over necessary reforms. Jersey's strengths, safety, quality of life, economic dynamism come with costs. That's not a contradiction, but the price, the success. Voters wanting luxury standards at budget prices aren't misguided, they're human. But governments have a duty to stop selling them impossible dreams. So where's the way forward? Admit 3 inconvenient truths. Reality check 1. High wages plus high living costs London-like economics. We're not ye olde England or an island financial hub. Reality check 2. Strict rental regulations might protect tenants, but will push landlords to demand higher returns. Basic economics, not landlord greed. Reality check 3. Propping up bloated public sector spending from financial smoke and mirrors won't solve anything. It's kicking the economic can down the road. Progress starts with honest comparisons. Instead of cherry-picking Stoke or Swansea data, benchmark against global financial capitals. The alternatives? Continuing myths and broken election promises that erode public trust. But this won't be popular. Will Jersey's policymakers choose the comforting illusion of affordable London lifestyles, or face hard truths with courage? The island's future depends on deciding. Ben Shenton, former senator and investment expert, challenges, can we stop peddling fantasy economics and build a sustainable future? Or will we keep comparing apples to turnips? How islanders in Guernsey and Jersey are coping with the cost of living crisis. Imagine living in a place where the cost of daily necessities is squeezing your budget so tightly that you have to skip meals to feed your children. This is the reality faced by many residents in Guernsey and Jersey, 2 beautiful island communities struggling with soaring living expenses. But here's where it gets controversial. Why are these 2 islands experiencing such different inflation rates? And what can be done to alleviate the financial burden on their inhabitants? Sarah Albert, a Jersey mother of 3, shared her struggles with the BBC. She often goes without food herself to ensure her children have enough to eat. The latest data shows that prices in Jersey are rising at a rate of 2.6%, while in Guernsey, the increase is even steeper at 3.9%, despite slowing compared to earlier this year. Local economists point to rental property costs as a major factor. In Guernsey, high rents are partly attributed to government relocation grants aimed at attracting workers. Construction worker Luke Jackson expressed frustration, saying locals can't afford homes in their own community. In 2023, the state spent £4,757,453 on relocation grants, up from £1,437,450 in 2018. The impact on rental prices is significant. In Guernsey, average rents in the first quarter of 2025 were £226 a month, a 1.5% increase from the previous quarter and a staggering 51.7% higher than 5 years ago. In contrast, Jersey's rents have remained relatively stable at around £1,300 for a one-bedroom home. Food prices are another area of concern. In Jersey, food costs have risen by 4.1% between March and June, while in Guernsey, the increase was 3.9% over the same period. Sarah Albert highlighted the high cost of everyday items, from sun cream to cereal, forcing families to cut back on luxuries. Chantal Bearder, a new mother in Guernsey, faces similar challenges. With her husband as the sole earner, she's had to adjust her lifestyle significantly. Work versus childcare is the balance, she explained. Living on one wage means thinking carefully about what's affordable and what might end up unused. The state of Guernsey has yet to respond to inquiries about assistance measures for the cost of living crisis. In Jersey, Minister for Social Security, Deputy Lindsay Feltham, acknowledged the strain on families and emphasized steps being taken to address the issue. These include transitioning towards a living wage and increasing income support rates. Social services in Jersey have reported that 1 in 5 families are struggling to make ends meet. Deputy Louise Doublet expressed deep concern about child poverty, noting how it impacts family dynamics and well-being. Parents are having to juggle shifts to make ends meet, leaving less time for family bonding. She stated, community centers like Bright Beginnings in St. Sabsons offer free stay-in-place lessons to help parents manage childcare. New mother Nashina Nakwa, who moved to Jersey 2 years ago, commented on the increased costs of food and daycare, emphasizing the need for support systems. Hospitality worker Sheikh Saqib, who recently became a father in Guernsey, highlighted the high rental costs compared to cities in mainland UK. I've seen cheaper options in London and Edinburgh, he noted, illustrating the significant disparity. The Consumer Council in Jersey has been advocating for better discounts on essential food items from local supermarkets. Carl Walker, a campaigner, stressed the importance of genuine and targeted discounts to help struggling families. As these islands continue to grapple with rising living costs, it's clear that addressing the root causes, such as high rental prices and food inflation, is crucial. What measures do you think should be implemented to ease the financial burden on residents? Share your thoughts in the comments. Jersey cost of living crisis. Weekly shop 49% more expensive than UK. Imagine living in a place where your weekly grocery bill can be nearly 50% higher than in the UK, forcing you to make impossible choices between basic necessities. This is the harsh reality for many residents of Jersey, as highlighted in a recent report by Policy Center Jersey. But here's where it gets controversial. Despite these sky-high costs, average household incomes in Jersey were significantly higher than in the UK just a few years ago. So, why are so many islanders struggling to make ends meet? Jane, a lifelong Jersey resident, shares her heartbreaking story. With a weekly pension of just £47.50, she barely survives, often relying on her overdraft to cover expenses. The pressure has taken a toll on her mental health, pushing her to a dark place during the holidays. She explains, "Last Christmas, I had to fight not to take my own life. I was alone with only a microwave dinner for company." Data from Policy Center Jersey paints a grim picture. House prices in Jersey are comparable to those in London, 50% higher than in the southeast of England and 27% higher than in Guernsey. Groceries are 14% more expensive, with distribution costs, labor costs, and tax differences contributing to the price hike. The lack of budget-friendly grocery stores exacerbates the issue, making the cheapest options up to 49% more expensive than in the UK. However, the report reveals that in 2020 and 2021, average household income before housing costs was 51% higher in Jersey than in the UK. and 42% higher after housing costs. Despite this, financial difficulties affected 82% of single parents, 47% of couples with children, 36% of working-age individuals living alone, and 24% of pensioners. Sir Mark Bollitt, senior advisor at Policy Centre Jersey, warns that the high cost of living is driving people away from the island. We're losing our own people who were born and raised here, he says. It's becoming increasingly difficult to attract new talent for industries like education, health, and finance. Deputy Morell, Jersey's Minister for Sustainable Economic Development, identifies increasing the housing supply as a key solution. We've made it challenging for ourselves to boost the housing supply, he admits. Every member of the State of Jersey has played a role in this. John, another Jersey resident, faces similar challenges. He explains it's tough. My wife was in a nursing home and it was costing us a fortune. Now we're down to our basics, but we keep going. Another retired resident took on a part-time job delivering takeout to make ends meet, saying, I do it just to afford to go away. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to. Alice Nunn from the Salvation Army reports that their food bank is seeing a surge in demand. We've had over 400 families in just 3.5 months, she says. People are choosing between a roof over their head and food on the table. The situation in Guernsey mirrors Jersey's. A recent report by the island's Community Foundation found that 38% of the poorest households lack enough beds for their residents. Mother Ali de Carate from Guernsey describes her struggle. I try to make sure the children are clothed, fed, and have electricity and heating, which means sometimes I can't afford other things. This crisis raises important questions. How can Jersey and Guernsey address the high cost of living while maintaining their attractiveness to residents and newcomers? What policies could help reduce housing costs and make grocery stores more affordable? These are issues that will shape the future of both islands and deserve careful consideration.